Hi, I'm Adam Brooks Weber. This is The Merry Mystic, and I'm glad you're here. Today I'm off on a little rant about the lectionary. It starts like this. I once knew a church that was searching for a pastor. After they had narrowed the field to a few candidates, they gave them all the same challenge. They gave them a really puzzling passage from the lectionary and asked them to write a sermon on it. I wasn't one of the candidates for that job, I'm glad to say. Not that I couldn't have handled the challenge, I think I'm pretty good at that kind of thing. But I think there's something wrong with the whole approach. Behind it lies the idea that this is the heart of the pastor's job, to take whatever the lectionary gives us and find some way to put a positive spin on it. According to this, being a pastor is sort of like being a political staffer. When a politician says something stupid, the politician's people jump into action. They work overtime to put a good spin on it, explaining how the thing that was said wasn't really stupid at all. It was a joke or a metaphor or a rhetorical exaggeration or a story passed on in good faith. The opposition and the press are taking it out of context. It wasn't really stupid at all, if understood correctly. Pastors and politicians use many of the same tools for doing this kind of spin control. I'll give you 3 examples of these tools. Number 1, the far-fetched interpretation. Here, we deflect an attack or a criticism by offering an alternative interpretation of what was said. The great thing about this is that it doesn't matter if our interpretation is incredibly far-fetched. And as long as we get it out there, it serves to blunt the attack. In Scripture, for example, there are 2 different stories about what happened to Judas after he betrayed Jesus. In the book of Acts, it tells how Judas bought a field with his ill-gotten gains, but then died a gory death in it. It says he burst open in the middle and all his bowels gushed out. This is a different story from the one at the end of the Gospel of Matthew, which says that Judas threw down the 30 pieces of silver in the temple and went and hanged himself. Here, obviously, we have 2 different and conflicting stories about what happened to Judas, and we don't really know which, if either, is true. It goes to show that the Bible is not inerrant or free of internal conflicts, but to blunt that attack, we can offer an alternative interpretation. Judas first hanged himself in his field, and then the body ripened there a while, and then it fell down and burst open in the middle, and all his bowels gushed out. So that way, both stories could be literally true, and the inerrancy of the Bible is preserved. Does that sound far-fetched? Sure. But the attack is blunted. Mission accomplished. In politics, well, examples are everywhere. Here's Donald Trump complaining about the aggressive questions asked by Megyn Kelly in a presidential debate.
Asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions, and you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever, but she was...
Sounds like typical misogynistic disrespect, doesn't it? But oh no, Trump later explained that when he said blood coming out of her wherever, he meant her nose. Far-fetched? Sure, but it blunts the attack. Mission accomplished. If far-fetched interpretation doesn't suit, there's always tool number 2, the alternative facts defense. You've got your facts, we've got ours. Your facts are supported by scientists, historians, journalists, but so what? You're going to trust a bunch of elites? A bunch of people who think they're smarter than you are? Because we've got the real facts right here. Young Earth creationists and other biblical literalists use the alternative facts defense pretty freely. So do political spin controllers, as when the White House tried to defend President Trump's claims of widespread voter fraud, or his claims that his inauguration attendance was the biggest ever.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point...
Enough said. Example number 3. the secret code defense. Here we argue that the statement in question was something really deep, some kind of secret code. And if you think it was just a mistake, well, that just shows you're too stupid to understand the code. Apocalypticists often use this defense for the book of Revelation to argue that it is a true prediction of the events and timing of the end of the world. Never mind that countless times over thousands of years that people have been wrong about the predictions based on it. We just need to figure out, which horseman is the Roman Empire and which beast represents the United States, which of its 7 heads is Barack Obama, which of the 10 horns is the Vatican, and of course which sinister former Secretary of State is the whore of Babylon. And if you're too dumb to figure it out, well, don't blame us. The secret code defense is also used in politics, as when the president recently tweeted something incomprehensible ending with the word covfefe.
Why did it stay up so long? Is no one watching this?
No, I think the president and a small group of people know exactly what he meant. Blake.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not in the business of spin control. The lectionary has many uses, but we should not make pastors play Sean Spicer to It's Donald Trump. I love the Bible, and I think it's a great treasure. It's a storehouse of the wisdom and stories and poetry of our faith ancestors, but there are mistakes in it too, and propaganda and ugliness, and also some remarkably dry and unimproving passages, and it shouldn't be any pastor's job to stand up on a Sunday morning and pretend otherwise. Thanks for listening to my rant today. Let's make God smile this week. Bye now.